Hi, I'm Neil Thompson. I'm a senior editor on the books team here at Amazon, and we are here speaking with Amanda Knox about her new book called Waiting to be Heard. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So let's talk about the book. I wanted to start by having you talk a little bit about the purpose of the book. Obviously it's your opportunity to set the record straight, to tell your side of the story after nearly 4 years behind bars and going through the trial. But this seems like you're also a writer or an aspiring writer, and it seems like this is more than just your rebuttal to the Italian judicial system. Is that?
It is. It is. That's very accurate. I wrote the book for many reasons. One of which is for me, in the sense that I felt like to be able to confront my thoughts and be able to reflect about what happened to me, I needed to write about it. And so part of what motivated me was wanting to write about it for myself as a form of catharsis, but also as a form of just coming to terms with what I went through. That then became this desire to share what I learned from the experience. I thought about it as I was writing it in terms of what I want my little sisters to know. What about my experience has stuck with me, has made me the person I am now, and what I think is useful and relevant to other people. I went through this crazy experience, and while it is very particular and very unique in its own way, it's not unique in the larger scheme of things. Many people go through what I went through, and a lot of people don't come out of it. But at the same time, people are struggling all the time, and what I learned from going through what I struggled with, I feel is valuable to other people, and I really wanted to share that.
Did you think you'd get the chance to do this, to tell your story in this way, or at least this soon?
No, I did not. I did not anticipate that. I feel very fortunate to be able to have this opportunity, have this amount of support. It's actually blown my mind how much support I've had after so long of feeling very helpless, really, and very, very silenced. So the fact that it was my publisher who came up with the title Waiting to be Heard. I was very much struggling with it. Yeah, I was struggling with a title, trying to think, like, how do I encompass what I'm trying to do here? And I came up with tons of artsy titles that I really liked and that I was afraid wouldn't mean as much to other people who have no idea already what my book is about. And so when my publisher said, "You're waiting to be heard," and I thought, yeah, actually that's exactly what I want. And so the fact that my publishers have been so supportive has meant a lot to me, and my family supporting me through writing it and being there to read it as I went along. It's been an incredible experience, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
Well, you mentioned the desire to do this for the catharsis of it. Has it been cathartic?
Surprisingly so. I'd have to say that I did not anticipate the intensity of feeling that I was going to go through in writing the book. In writing about what I went through, I all of a sudden found myself in a position to reflect, but also feel things that I could not allow myself to feel as I was going through them, because in the process of confronting a horrible situation, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much anger you can allow yourself to feel, or sadness. And I was incredibly surprised by how hard it was at times to write, and how I would have to stop and take a walk and come back to it. And the fact that I now have those feelings that I've gotten out, I feel like has spared me a great burden in the future, because those feelings were there and they were ones that I wasn't fully aware of. And because they weren't expressed, I knew that they were going to linger with me, and they did. Especially when I first got back, I was struggling with feelings that I didn't understand, just the anger and the sadness, and not understanding why I wasn't okay, why it wasn't just okay now that I'm home and I'm with my family. And so I'm, again, incredibly grateful that I was able to write about it, because it got it out. And it further added another dimension to my book that I hope is relevant to others.
So it seems like it was a necessary process for you, even though it was a painful one. Ultimately, hopefully, a healing one. But were there pieces of the story that were particularly hard to revisit and recreate? In the book, you rely heavily on your own journals, letters, but also court transcripts. So it seems as if there had to have been periods where you were dragging yourself back through some of the difficult periods of those years.
Absolutely. Well, part of the decision-making process of going through and deciding what parts to write about over others. It was 4 years of experience, and so I had to make decisions about what were the things that were most relevant to the process of going through it. And what I had to decide upon was, what are the things that haunt me? What are the things that mean the most, and what's the most important information? I really had to go through and think, these are the things that are most important, and these are the things that haunt me. And so one of the things that was very difficult was going through the worst experiences that I've ever been through and trying to describe them, but at the same time trying not to impose upon them any of my retrospective thoughts about it. And so I guess I was also spared in a sense of trying to describe those events by letting the events speak for themselves and not imposing my own feelings on them. It was very interesting to try to find this balance between talking about what I was going through and talking about what happened. And the hardest parts were often trying to describe a situation that was very out of my control and letting the facts speak for themselves. My interrogation, my conviction, these were all things that were happening to me. And trying to describe them, especially when many people have never gone through an experience like that, and trying to make it relatable without imposing myself upon the experience was very difficult.
What did you read
While I
during
was
that
there?
period? Anything that particularly helped?
Different things helped me in different times. A good example that I can think of is that there was a very difficult period of time just within the prison environment. It had nothing to do with my legal proceedings, just in the prison environment, problems of overpopulation, struggles with different personalities within my cell. And there was a particular prisoner who was becoming very increasingly violent and provocative. And I often had to just try to not let that person hurt me while I was there within the cell, physically but also emotionally. And the way that I did it was I had Douglas Adams' The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I had this big book full of hilarious wittiness, and I hid myself in it, and I just escaped everything around me, and I just made myself enjoy it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And
how many times?
I think I read that one twice, but there were other, I mean, I was fortunate that I never had a time where I didn't have enough books to read. That was definitely a resource that was available to me through my family. And while I wasn't allowed to have a library in my cell, I had a certain number of books that I was going through at any given time, and they very much helped me confront the situations that I was going through. Another example of a book that meant a lot to me as I was going through it was Marilynne Robinson's Housekeeping, just in terms of investigating themes such as like loneliness and isolation. And these were all feelings that I was confronting, and I was trying to understand about my experience. And so in reading about them coming from someone else, it meant a lot to me, and helped me reflect about my own experience. And
you wrote as much as you could in prison as well? Journals, notebooks? I believe at one point they were confiscated, but have you gotten them back?
Oh, well, anything that was confiscated was never given back to me. So, yeah, I didn't get that back, but I did write many a journal. I mostly wrote letters. This was a very important part of my time in prison, and the way that I confronted it was the letters that I wrote. Feeling like those connections were my real life. The people I was writing to were the people of my life, and I wasn't confined to the space that was around me. And being able to talk about very intimate things and intimate thoughts to people whom I trusted, and at the same time maintaining a relationship with my family and my friends and these people who are important to me when I can't see them. I'm not living life with them anymore. They're here in Seattle, or they're here to visit me, but their lives are on hold while they're visiting me. And so a lot of what I was using to remember were letters that I wrote to my family and my friends, in addition to the journals that I wrote.
And you used that information in the book to sort of recreate your feelings at the time, I believe.
Yeah.
Now that it's out, now that the book is out and your version of the story is out and about to reach a wide audience, what next? And do you think it'll help you with this next phase? You're what, 25 now?
25.
So,
well, I'm very grateful for the experience that I've gained from writing this book. I've never written a book before, and I want to continue writing. I'm in school to get a degree in creative writing, and I'm taking these experiences and these habits now with me as I move along into the future, and I hope to keep writing is what I want to do. So.
Well, Amanda, I think that's about it. Thanks for joining us. Good luck with the book.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with what's next.
Thanks.
Okay.